with such an esteemed panel. But with that said, let's jump right in and talk a little bit about what I'm sure a lot of people wanted to know, and that is really enhancing the guest experience through operational excellence. So if we take a look at what we can do for the guest experience through operational experience, Aloysius, let's start with you. I know that you're with the Dusit International. How is the Dusit International optimizing operations to deliver seamless guest experiences while maintaining high service standards?
Thanks, Justin. Tough question, right?
It is.
Three aspects: people, technology, and process. Right? With the current status of the world, technology has come in to help us a lot. Right? So what we try to do is use technology. We have systems like Power Connect, TrustView, TaskWorld. We use this systems to enable us to be able to deliver what guests expect. Right? But then we also have a combination of individual staff. One of the benefits that I had in Dusit is many of the staff stay with us for a long time, and many of these staff know guests by heart, the loyal guests, the repeat guests, and you don't have to teach them, right? You don't have to look at PMS, look at preferences. They know exactly what the guest wants, and they're able to create that unique experience for these guests themselves, right? So that's one aspect, right? Using technology.
The industry's boldest ideas revealed, and where the future of hospitality, sustainability, and automation technology takes center stage. So thank you very much once again. And coming back to the question, Justin. So, well, it's literally was probably the biggest challenge over the over 15 years. So I'm coming from the operations. All my life I've been running ops in multiple hotels in Europe, China, in Singapore. And 10 years ago, when the robots become kind of a normality there, I started to question myself, am I going to lose a job now? Like, is robot going to replace me? Funny enough, 2 years ago, I've been hired by one of those robots, and basically now I'm trying to sell those robots to the hotels, because I do feel that this is now a life changer. It's no longer, technology is no longer a luxury. It's the necessity for every hotel. We're not asking to replace human touch by the robots. We are just helping our team, our staff to not burn out and to remain and to provide that excellent guest experience in the hospitality. All the routine jobs, all those manual things, the reporting, analyticals can be taken by robots, right, by the technology. But the guest experience, the real hospitality, why the people like myself and the rest of you join the hospitality industry can actually focus on that guest excellence and providing that whole experience for all of the guests.
Do you feel that fear that I think was there for quite some time is dissipating?
Well, it still remains, probably for those pioneers who've been in the industry, really 20 years, 25 years. But honestly speaking, so as Aloysius just now mentioned, so the manpower is really the challenge, especially in the past like Singapore and Japan. And I've been implementing a lot of our solutions in Japan market over the past 2 years. It's very interesting to see when, a housekeeping room attendant who is in average usually now 55 or 60 years old, who never hold even a smartphone before, and now asked to use the solution, to do something she's been doing for many, many years. It's very interesting to see how excited they can actually get when they really understand that this is now really saving a lot of their time, on a day-to-day basis. And they were like, oh wow, you can see this joy and excitement after they actually nailed that solution. So it's very cool.
Excellent. Totally agree. I think there was for a period there where we saw sort of us versus them, that now is very much becoming a more collaborative. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Let me turn this over to Rachel, and as we're sort of still talking about enhancing the guest experience, let's talk a little bit about procurement, and what role does smart procurement play in ensuring that hotels provide high quality services while controlling costs?
Thank you, Justin. And I just want to touch a bit about what Aloysius and Alicia has said. If I can just give you one example of a property that we've onboarded in Singapore. This is a 50-year-old, I would say, store manager. He manages a bar with over 10,000 SKUs. with the adoption of digital platforms, he basically reduced his stock take time from 4 days to just half a day. So I think what it really shows here is that manpower is here to stay in terms of shortage. I think across Asia we're feeling it, perhaps in Singapore and Japan more intense, but as we go into the other Southeast Asia countries, it's a reality. So what do we do? Automation. I think from procurement perspective, post-COVID, the forefront of technological adoption has always been front of house, because that's where you sell. Brand will pick up on stories such as this. Procurement, not so sexy. It's our own staff. We can manage with whatever it is. But the reality is that the back of house has actually a lot of manual processes. And this is actually where automation is key. So from procurement perspective, if you could just have a platform that allows you to actually select and have an overview of all the suppliers from the different country of origin, do they have certifications? It helps to basically answer to Aloysius' point about sustainability from farm to table. How are you going to be able to prove that? Firstly, from procurement and from a purchasing perspective. And if we're going to get your purchasing managers to speak to all the suppliers, it's going to be a challenge, because we know supply chain disruption is also something that's really affecting this part of the world as well. So I think the reason for adoption is really depending on what are some of the areas that you're looking at to reduce cost. Now, cost is really not just how much am I paying for a system, but it's the true cost over an extended period of time. Sure, I can take the cheapest system, but I don't have the data. I still need my team to take a week just to generate reports for me, when I can just log on to my mobile app based on the data that we have tracked from our system from the time you purchase up until the time you receive. You know the supplier's performance. You know if you can negotiate for better contracts. Because of standardized terminology, you're able to actually do that. And the purchasing team, actually not just purchasing, I think at the end of the day, you really do save costs in the long run.
Rachel, you've all touched on something that we're starting to see as a little bit of an early theme in this discussion, and that is we're all struggling with manning, and we're now all being forced to use this optimization and automation that we're now becoming dependent upon, that at one point was very fearful. But are the teams buying into it? Are they embracing it as much as we want them to?
That is a great point, and with us basically doing adoption across Asia, not just Asia, even in terms of Europe, we realized that the key to this is really change management. What we've noticed is that sure, you can slap on management feels that this particular system is perfect, it helps me to save costs and it drives my objectives. But the people, the very heart of it, which is what the hospitality industry is, are they ready? Did you actually show them exactly the path that they're going towards to? Are they being part of the journey? Does it help in their actual day-to-day? Because right now what we see in terms of working with all the director of finance, the general managers, is that they believe in it, but the people downstream somehow are resistant to it, not because they want to, but because as all humans, we have this huge inertia to change. And moving something that I've done for the past 10 to 15 years, why do I need to change? What's the need? And they don't see it because they're just going through their operations on a day-to-day basis. So that's when training has to come in, like what Aloysius said. We really have to do that change management process even before we talk about systems. Yeah, so really that's really what I wanted to say.
Excellent, thank you. Let's go ahead and ask a second question now. We're still going to stick a little bit with technology, but let's merge into leveraging technology for efficiency and automation. And Mateo, this one I'm going to come over to you here, and we're going to talk a little bit about back of house operations.
Yep.
So how can automation in back of house operations, such as housekeeping and laundry, improve efficiency and cost savings?
Yeah, thank you very much. Nice to be here in front of you all. So I would say that definitely automation and technology innovation are giving the possibility to reduce the cost and also to be more sustainable and more efficient and so on. There are a couple of different aspects if I have to look at more in detail and what we are doing. That we are a company that manufactures washing machine, drying machine, ironing machine, so any equipment that is needed in the laundry. So if I have to look at that, there is one side that is more about technological innovation. So we have new always like new idea, new way to try to improve the efficiency. If I have to make an example, I'm thinking, for example, about our moisture sensor in the drying machine that give you the possibility to set a certain amount of humidity that you want to have in your linen. The machine will stop automatically when this level is set, depending on what you set, to go into the to go into the ironer or to go directly into the folding, right? And this will give an increase in terms of like linen life, quality of the linen result, and also a reduction in cost, because while before you were just guessing, oh, I will set the dryer on this time because I think that's the right time, now you will have the exact time that you need, and you will reduce the time, and with this the energy. On the other side, there is the integration with system of, for example, reporting and monitoring, and our machine are able to record the number of cycles, how long was each cycle, which program was used, and so on. And this definitely will give a better visibility to the operator to understand where they are doing something that maybe is not at the top of the efficiency, where they are wasting some energy, water, or chemical, and so on.
Okay, this is great, and it's thematically in line with everything that we're hearing, but I can feel it from the audience. But one of the it's all great. It sounds great. We're moving in the right direction. We're letting the fear down. We're embracing this. But does it always work? And I ask that because I still see situations out there, whether it be, I was at the movie theater the other day and everything has now become automated. And you know what? That automation had collapsed. And all of a sudden no one was able to order the popcorn or order the soda anymore. So we're still seeing, it sounds great, we're moving in the right direction, but does it still have a lot of kinks to work out?
I would say that the thing, for example, that I pointed out are quite easy to be used. Of course, you need to have that kind of involvement that everybody was talking about. It cannot be only the machine. You put there the machine and the machine works by itself. That doesn't work for anything, I guess.
Indeed.
So you need to have, some training. You need to have you need to explain to the team why they use that and why it's good for them to use that and why it improves their job, their work every day.
And Rachel had clearly talked about the amount of training that is needed. So great. Thank you, Matteo. Let me move this over to Alicia. Let's talk a little bit, carrying the torch a little bit from the last presentation where AI was discussed significantly. What are some of the most impactful AI and automation solutions that hotels should adopt for streamlined operations?
Very good questions, and I think this is coming to the point where right now there are so many solutions available out there, and just now Justin already mentioned how can we make sure that those solutions are actually working. Usually my personal advice as an operational ex-colleague, I would say, as a hotelier, right, I would say that choose your solutions right from the very beginning. So it's very good to have all different solutions in the hotel and they're all doing its own job, but the pain point there is when they are not communicating between each other. So the very first step when you're just at the pre-opening stage, right, like Aloysius mentioned, make sure that your property management system is the one which is not working independently, but it's able to collaborate with other solutions as well. Make sure that your operational HUD, right, your operational solutions is the one which, yes, it can do a lot of job for your hotel and can cover different departments, but there are definitely going to be a point when you still need this or you need that. And make sure that this solution will be able to easily integrate to other technologies as well. So, for example, I'm representing today HubOS Asia. HubOS's operational solution will provide multiple offerings to maintenance, housekeeping, F&B, energy and sustainability, and so on. So it's definitely covering every single aspect. But still, there are going to be some of the items which, hotels would like to evolve their hotels even more, like some of the AI tools. So every hotel have to really make sure that those operational things can actually link up together. So you don't have 10 independent platforms, but you have one which can integrate all in one.
And on that, Alicia, thank you. AI or otherwise, are you finding that most of your clients, most of the hotels are coming to you at the right time in pre-opening? Or are they coming to you when everything has already gone into the matrix and things are awkward and then they come to you at that point?
This is a great question, and probably this is the hardest part of my job. So I'm trying to approach the pre-opening hotels as my first priority because we want to set the things right at the very beginning. So this is the best implementation, the best showcases when you clearly can see that, okay, we are doing it all right and we're not wasting money, on some of the items which are not necessary or not going to work as your popcorn machine, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But on another hand, it's actually quite interesting, and sorry Aloysius, I'm going back to Japan. I spent almost 2 years recently there implementing a lot of hotels. So Japan could never see any technology, to be honest, which was shocking to me. We all think that Japan is a very advanced technological country, but if you're going to the hotel, mobile check-in, or some kind of a guest facing platforms, it's never exists there. It's so difficult to implement it there. So at the moment, when you see that, when you roll out that new solution for them and the impact, which is immediately the hotel management team can see in the gains of the ROI after 4 or 8 weeks after deployments, it's really so much that you start to think, actually for your own joy, it's nice when you see the hotel, a little bit suffering with the operations and then implemented the solution. It's like, oh wow, I can actually finish my job at 6, I can actually finish on time and don't do overtime preparing the reports over the weekend. So yeah, it's a chicken and egg situation,
Solutions feel good.
Oh yeah, absolutely, when they work,
Indeed. Keeping here with leveraging technology, Rachel, let me turn this over to you and talk a little bit more about procurement. How can procurement platforms and digital supply chain management contribute to a smoother and more cost-effective hotel operation?
Thank you. I think it's really important to understand that with AI, it helps you to really get the information quickly. It helps you to do forecasting as well. So let's say we talk about inventory management. For us, FutureLog, we're a cloud-based procure-to-pay solution, but we also interface with various point-of-sale systems. Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about profitability, the director of F&B wants to make sure that I have enough food, just right, not too much, not too little, to at least suffice for my F&B outlets for the next few days. Now with that, how am I going to guess? Well, first, you need to know how much you're going to procure based on your previous week or previous month or previous year's data, based on business intelligence. Second, your daily interface with your point of sales. Because perhaps if you had a special menu for, let's say, the Lunar New Year, right? It's a set menu choice between beef and chicken. Now, I would assume it's 50-50, but based on the past 3 weeks data I've launched, it's actually 80% choice of chicken and 20% beef. Now, from a logical perspective, do I really need to then order that much chicken? No, right? So this is really how it really helps you to streamline that. Now, let's go back to suppliers, which is on the other end, because this is where the hotel has the ability to look at reports generated on a daily basis. He doesn't have to go get his F&B team, F&B manager to generate the reports, but he can just log into his mobile app and select the time frame and see the profitability. Now, on the other end, when it comes to supplies, you don't want your supply chain to be disrupted. Now, today it's pretty fragmented. Suppliers will link up with hotels based on who they know. Now, the reality, there's a lot more options out there. Now, the question is, how are we going to put them all together? So for us, we have a supplier platform. We standardize the naming convention. Why it is really critical in today's world is that the ability to streamline data so that it actually makes sense. Because from a procurement perspective, we imagine the different purchasing managers, because of the massive turnover, would like to name an article whichever format they want. And we know when you talk about trying to data crunch, it basically is a mess. So rubbish in, rubbish out. So what we do is we standardize the data for you. It allows you to compare the minute I want to purchase a particular item, I'm able to then see across the region or across the country, these are the suppliers that have alternatives. Now it's my prerogative to choose, because I would prefer a vendor that has better quality, better delivery schedule, or can accept my small order. Now this is when it helps the purchasing manager, because it really depends on the operating size of the hotel. There's no one size fits all, but the fact is that the data is presented to you up front, so then you can make the decision, well, I would say in a shorter span of time.
Yeah, okay. I hear all of it, but I've got a question about, and obviously the team members heavy into a lot of operations. How long, we talk about retention, and a lot of properties have very little turnover. And if you're getting an executive chef on property that's been there for several years, how long does it take them to trust what you're offering? Because it sounds amazing, but I've worked with enough of these guys that can be a little crusty and pretty rigid and pretty set in their ways that, how do I trust that? Yeah. Just take a second on that, Rachel. Yeah.
Yeah, but I agree with you. It's really about delivering what they want. And at the end of the day, if the chef tells me, Rachel, all I want to see is my cost of goods and whether it's profitable or not. This is the menu engineering report. But my caveat is make sure you put in the correct ingredients and recipe in your module so that when I tag it to your point of sales, I get the right data. A lot of times, we blame the systems, the inefficiencies, but we must understand that we need to make that effort to put in the right data and at which point, and we need to really do that. And that actually takes more effort than the output because the systems are built, to be honest, to work. If it doesn't work, it's either the data is not accurate or for whatever reason they're not clicking the same steps which they were meant to do. So I think I just really wanted to highlight that point.
Indeed, thank you. Let's move on to the next question. I'm actually going to want to talk. I think where a lot of our audience is here today is and you guys have mentioned already when it comes to workforce and manning. Let's talk about workforce efficiency and the future of hotel staffing. So, Aloysius, what are some of the key challenges hotels face in staffing and training, and how can operations be optimized to support a leaner workforce? And I know you touched on this a little bit earlier, but go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit more.
Thank you, Justin. We all agree that labor shortage is the biggest problem across the world, right? Not just in hotels. But more and more we're seeing the younger workforce have choices, right? When I first joined the hotel, my boss told me this, hotelier is not a job, it's a lifestyle, right? So now I understand that. And when we attract the current generation, they don't want to do mundane tasks. They want an inclusive workforce. They want a work-life balance, rightfully so, but we don't have manpower, right? So how do we attract them? How do we retain them, So that's the biggest challenge that we are facing across the world. And you touched on training, and I think training is a key component. And again, I'm part of our business education. No longer are the training requirements where somebody comes to a classroom and sits 8 hours to be trained. That's gone, right? It's all about micro-learning today. I want 5 minutes video. I want 3 minutes video. When I'm in the train, I want to train. Open a video, right? That's what. So and we are also evolving. We are seeing that, right? We have just launched our online learning portal called visitlearning.com. So you choose the time that you want to learn. You choose where, right? And whether it's a team, individual, it's up to how you want to do it, right? And how do we make that interesting for you? So that's kind of key. And the other thing is that, right? You no longer looking at a world where I put you as a GSA and that's it. I'll step away. You're gonna lose that stuff, right? Today I'm gonna go to you and say you're a GSA, but let me teach you a little bit of F&B. Let me teach you a little bit of back of house operations. How do you keep that interesting for the individual so that they start to enjoy the different aspects of hotel operations? That's another trend that we are seeing as well today, right? So there's a lot of cross exposure we are giving to our teams, leadership programs, and one thing I learned many years ago is that don't solve problems yourself. Show it to the team. Let them solve it for you. Then they take ownership, and I enjoy that, right? I throw problems because they are the ones on the ground. They are the ones listening to our guests. I say, hey, this is a problem. What can we do? Right? I feel, not being able to tell what to do. But that's the reality, and that's the way that we are moving towards the current generation, yeah?
Indeed. I think you're presenting some very valuable options. I think for a while there, we all thought that we were going to solve the manning issues in other ways. Oh, they'll come back. It was just a COVID-y time. They'll come back. Just give it time. They're not coming back. So, Alicia, let me turn this over to you and talk, as we're talking about again, workforce efficiency and technology. How can technology improve staff productivity and help reduce operational bottlenecks?
Yeah, absolutely. So technology will take that pain of the routine job. So basically, you don't need to stress yourself at the end of the month to prepare all those months-end report manually and spending Aloysius is nothing because we've all been there, right? Like I've been spending the entire weekend. I hate 29, 13, 31st of each month. I mean, those months which don't have 31st, I hate it even more because I have to take 28. So yeah, it's those days you really have to sit down and like from morning to night and write down all your reports and making sure that you don't do any manual mistake, because after a couple of hours you cannot see it clearly. The technology will take all the pain. You click one button, within the, 10 seconds, you generate all the report without any manual mistakes. It's definitely data-proven data. If after, the next day the boss is coming to you and saying, oh, the report is fine, but how about this if we modify it now? Last time I had to spend another weekend modifying it to a different format. Now I click another button and I can modify it within the 10 seconds. It's brilliant. In terms of the staff, how they feel empowered, right, by the technology. Look, I really like, we have different solutions on the hub. One of them is the guest in touch. We literally call the model guest in touch. What does it do? The guests take the mobile phone, scan the QR code, and basically can communicate with the hotel in a very convenient way in their preferred language. They can, as a guest, you can select what language you would like to speak to your team. The team is receiving the message in their own language, and you are able to communicate with the guests without any issues and without the body language, those alias games. You definitely speak in the same way there. Besides that, your team can customize what kind of facilities, what kind of promotions you would like to actually introduce your guests to, right? So maybe you have a super cool Thai buffet open in your restaurant and you would like to promote it to the guests. And last time, the guest was even not informed about it because, we probably just flash it on the TV in the lobby and that's about it. But here, it's in their mobile phone. They can open, see the menu, make the reservation in that restaurant and boost the property revenue. So it's really making this all a guest staff communication easier, and it's definitely a good upselling tool, for the hotel as well.
And have the systems gotten so advanced that when we do have a more unique question, not just what are the hours of the restaurant opening, if we've got a more complex question, because I think we've all seen the limitation of bots and how we immediately get turned off by bots that are exceptionally limited. Do you find that your systems are growing and evolving to the point where that's becoming less and less a problem? The questions that not everybody is asking, but they are.
It is. So basically, we can provide two options there on our platform. So one, when we will be communicating directly to a team, right, to a staff, someone there, so we can answer any of your question, and it's definitely coming from a human, right, from the guest experience manager. On another side, we can integrate with all those AI-powered platforms as well. And honestly speaking, Justin, you will be very surprised. They are now so smart. Like, they seriously, they are seriously very smart. There are so many solutions, and this is one of our partners, like Canary or Rebinate. Oh, they are doing a fantastic job. Like, seriously, there are thousands, probably already tens of thousands of hotels which are using them globally, and you ask them anything, they will give you a so detailed explanation. Sometimes the staff cannot provide this answer, So it's really a very nice balance there. If the guest would like to talk to the team, absolutely. If you feel like, just the generic information will be good enough, you can just ask the same question to AI and compare the answers as well.
Indeed. We're continuing to look at solutions, ease the pain, and have that collaborative approach between the technology and the personalized service. Matteo, let me ask you a little bit as well, as we're going to kind of take a step back in the back of house a little bit further. What innovations in housekeeping and laundry can help alleviate staffing shortages while maintaining service quality?
Yeah, so first of all, I think that there are two sides of this matter. One is improving automation to need less manpower, and the other side is retain and find and attract new staff. So in this sense, in terms of automation, if I go and look into the laundry, and of course, like what is closer to me, there are many systems like automated waiting programs, automated sorting, automated folding that can reduce the amount of people. If I go on the other side in terms of like retain and try to attract, We, for example, are trying to make everything much more economic, functional for the operator. So we have wider door, we have tilting system, we have easy access panel, we have touchpad, and all these kind of things that make, on one side, the present worker feel like better, less tired at the end of the shift, and all these kind of things, and at the same time having such a nicer environment. It's probably easy to sell this environment to new recruitment. So that's
Let me ask you this: the technology that you're using, would you classify it as great assistance, or would you classify it as a savior?
I think it depends. Most of them are like great assistance. Then savior, maybe some of them can be considered savior if you look especially of someone that is working in the same job for a long time. Then it can become like more savior actually.
I hear
But, you know, in general, they are a very big assistance, I would say.
Okay. We're going to talk, the last session also talked quite a bit about sustainability, and will probably continue to be discussed in every panel and discussion and booth out there. But let's turn this over and let's talk a little bit about sustainability and cost optimization and hotel operation. Matteo, let's turn this back over to
I
you.
continue, yeah.
Okay, yes.
So, okay, two important things, cost and sustainability. Okay, first of all, cost. I think it's very important to define what is cost. I'm going to steal something that Alicia said, that is you have to choose the right solution up front. Because when you look at the cost, you cannot look at the cost of the single product or at the machine, but you have to look at the cost of ownership. So if I buy this equipment, how long is going to last me? How many times I have to repair it? How much is make me saving in terms of electricity, water, and other utilities? And that's the cost that you have to look at. On the side of this, if you choose something that is lasting longer, you reduce your waste because you throw away less machines, you throw away less spare parts, you consume less water, you consume less chemicals, so it's sustainable. Then there are other solutions that are by themselves sustainable. And in particular, for example, I'm thinking about something that is very common in Europe, a little bit less common here, but is coming more and more. That is the wet cleaning. That basically is the alternative to dry cleaning. So with wet cleaning, you eliminate all those chemicals that are very, very, very dangerous, not only for human being, but also for the, your suit, your shirt, and all these kind of things. And you're using something that is definitely much more sustainable on the long term. So, of course, we do have a system that we call soft wash that does wet cleaning, and used in a proper way. And we go back to the training part and the staff, how important is the human factor. It can give you definitely better result than what it is dry cleaning.
Let me ask you this: do you find that owners, the ones shelling out for all of the expenses, the initial expenses, you're arguing that the sustainable practices give you longer returns. Sometimes we see different owners. Do you find that there's a bit of a shift in the market in regards to sustainable practices and owners buying in more to investing in longer time periods of equipment working?
So you definitely have to explain that very well. So it's not something that comes by itself. But definitely, if I compare to 10 years ago when I started more or less in this specific sector, and I was selling something different, but still something that is not the cheapest product on the market, definitely there is more understanding that, it's better to look on the long term and not on the short term, both in side of cost and sustainability. So I see an improvement, and I hope that I'm seeing correctly.
Fantastic, thank you. Let me turn this over to Alicia. Also talking about sustainability and cost optimization, how can hotel operators balance sustainability goals with operational efficiency, particularly in resource management?
Yeah, great question. So one of the other solutions what Hub has provided, we have an energy and sustainability model. So it's so simple to use. You basically just need to open your mobile phone and input all the numbers you see on those huge meters for the water, energy, gas into the mobile phone, and the system will actually give you the immediate answer on your trends, where we are spending more, which days we are spending more, for example, and so on. The emission, right, for sustainability will be automatically calculated. So the best part is that the team does not require to do anything extra. They literally just need to input that number in, right? And the rest of the things the technology will do. So it's easier for them to track it and identify, let's say, if there was any leak, right? Or there was any extra unnecessarily water, gas use, so they can actually identify them much easily and save the cost on it. So besides that, right now it's very popular technology in Japan, by the way, our favorite, go back to Tokyo. Where the sensors in the rooms are operating, right? So when you open the door, the electricity is on. When you turn off the door and like no one is inside the room, everything will be off. This is fantastic, and it's also actually be able to integrate with the solution like mine as well, because you can see whether the guest is currently inside the room or outside the room as well. So it's really like the technology now is really done a huge step ahead, and it's all making an impact for the sustainability as well, for the culture. So the technology will solve for you that sustainability part. You just follow the steps what it says.
Thank you. Huge, impactful.
Exactly. Impactful event and impact.
Rachel, similar question. Let's turn this back over to you. And again, sustainability. How can digital procurement help reduce waste and promote more sustainable purchasing decisions?
Thank you. I think digital procurement, as the word says, it explains, it allows you to basically reduce the amount of paperwork involved. As we know, procurement itself, because of all the contracts that you require for suppliers, from audit perspective, all the approval stamps, the wet ink signatures that you require because audit wanted it, I think it basically helps you to reduce that. For us, everything goes into our system. There's a two-factor authentication. Everybody has a unique login. Basically, whenever you approve something, you write a comment, it's dated, and it's by who. There's no need for you to go and take a stack of papers and then just basically insert to that. Now, from a purchasing perspective, I think it's the same, like what you said from a sustainable perspective. Where the suppliers are sourcing from, where are you getting from? Is it within your sphere of influence? Because I have actually speaking to an owner with one of the islands in Indonesia, he wanted to only procure within a 100-kilometer radius. Now that's because his company believes in that philosophy. How are you going to do that? You need to know this supplier is procuring products from this country, and these are the certifications that they have. Now the effort is also in hotels looking for suppliers that are willing to be on this journey with you. Sustainability is never easy. It requires all of us to do our part. It's not just putting that on a sustainable, eco-friendly resort, but from at which point? Is it from the procurement all the way until when you come in? Do you have environmentally, I would say, basically within the social economies in the local communities, how are you supporting them? I think it's also something that procurement is also driving now. Back to your point about the sustainability certifications, we have a lot of hotels telling us, Rachel, we need all these requirements because in order to achieve my certification, I also need to justify the procurement, where am I procuring from. So with our system, basically you extract a report, you can actually see all your suppliers where you procure from, and then basically you can do the analysis yourself. You can select core, you can actually define these are sustainable suppliers that I want to procure from. So these are the lists that my operations team should and be encouraged to procure from.
I love it. I love how you're sort of tying this all together, sort of that we're not in this alone. On property, there's a collaboration now between technology and real live humans, but also with procurement, you're really looking at the communities. You're looking at your suppliers and trying to really find like-minded people that help act as to help supply you with suppliers. Okay, great, thank you. Let's spend the last couple of 3 minutes. This is going to be a tough task, but we're going to give it a shot. We're going to ask for each panelist, you're going to give me one future prediction. So you're each going to give me one key trend or opportunity that will define hotel operations in the next 5 years. So that's one. That's the future prediction. And if you each could give me a top tip, what advice that you would give to hotel operators looking to future-proof their operations? Aloysius, why don't you start?
Okay.
So two top. Each top.
Right. So, like what I said earlier, sustainability is here to stay, right? So how do we as hoteliers work with each other in a community? how do we work with the community? How do we work with governments to ensure that we lower the impact we have on the environment? How do we bring down our zero emissions and so on? Not compete with each other continuously, right? I think that's the key point that everybody needs to remember. Number two is that think out of the box, right? Why do we need front desk in the future, right? The guest is able to do everything on their phone, including a digital key card, right? So how do we do job redesigning for our hoteliers to be able to be in front of the guest to personalize the experience? That's one thing that we need to work on.
Excellent. Thank you. Rachel.
Right, so the word that I wanted to use popped up. So for me, the opportunity that I see for the hospitality industry is really job redesign. I think it's really crucial when you talk about automation and tech. You cannot use the same ways that you thought this job was meant to be to then embrace technology. You won't go far with it. So I really see this as an opportunity, and people are actually picking up on that. If with regards to what's a piece of advice, take the plunge. Change is the only constant. So don't be afraid to try a system. While I know that you choose right, but if you don't even want to try and start, it's really very hard for you to at least see the progress you could potentially make.
Think outside the box, take the plunge, take a risk. Words, musical words, I'd say. Matteo, over to you.
Yeah, so for me, actually I see, let's say, a challenge for the next 5 years in terms of hotels are already and we'll have to decide what to internalize and what to outsource. That's a big thing. We didn't talk too much about that, but I think it's something that is there. And in terms of a tip, it's something that I have already said. Don't look at the cost, but look at the cost of ownership on the long term. And that will make things probably easier on the long term.
Thank you. Alicia.
Yeah, I left 0 seconds here, so I will be very short, very short and sweet. I know. I could feel the effort.
I think one of the top tips is take your time.
Take slowly. Yeah, we're not rushing anywhere, right? We have 2 days ahead. For hotels, I would say choose right, choose smart, and leave all the boring manual routine job to the robots. Don't even look at that side and focus on the hyper-personalized experience for the guest. This is what is the trend which is coming. It's already happening. We can slowly see it in Southeast Asia. It's happening in Europe. So within the 5 years, you will see that the guests will be wowed by the staff and the team. They know what are they thinking about. They know what they want, what they need, without even saying it out loud. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank all of you guys for the attentive appreciation. And again, for all of the panelists, Alicia, Rachel, Matteo, Alicia, thank you so much for the panelists today.
Thanks, Justin. Thank you.
Thank you. Applause for all the panelists and the moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, the hospitality industry is evolving rapidly, and success depends on